Hi, you guys. Welcome back to Meaningful Motivations with Tracy Erickson. And of course, if you are new to this channel, welcome. My name is Tracy Erickson, and in this episode of Palmistry, I'm going to tell you guys all about the marriage lines that can be found on the side of your hand. And these lines can reveal significant emotional partnerships throughout your life. So stay tuned. In my previous video about the fate line, we talked about the small lines that come in at the base of the fate line and how those represent significant people that come into your life. Now, while those lines can represent your spouse or emotional partnerships in life, those can also represent close friendships, neighbors, coworkers, and basically anyone who can come into your life and make some kind of an impact on your life. But with the marriage lines, these lines are specifically referring to significant emotional partnerships that you have in your life. The marriage lines are found on the outer side or percussion side of your palm. Now, these lines are very specific because they're on this side of the palm and they're between the Mercury finger or the pinky finger and the heart line. So these lines will move across horizontally when you will look at them like this. I have a couple of, I don't know if it's really picking it up, but I have a couple of lines there. As you can see, they move across like that. So when you look at your dominant hand, you will see the lines between your small finger and the heart line, and those are your marriage lines. My very first palm reading by an experienced reader was on July 9th, 2009. And she even recorded it for me on a cassette tape, you guys. So I went ahead and found the section that had her speaking of my marriage lines. And I got a little recording of it for you guys to listen to here. But bear with me because the audio isn't that great. Remember, it was off of an old cassette tape. And I'm playing it on an old device.
Oh, this is really beautiful. One strong relationship in your life. Very solid, very long. That's cool. All right, very nice. Yay. Let me look at your palm, your hand from the other side. Yeah, you have the potential for more in this hand. This one being the longest, the first one, and the second one being also long and deep, but at a later point in your life. So, that means, Neil, if anything ever happens to you, she might get married again. But it would not be while you were here, because there's only one line present. Okay? All right, so you got to keep yourself healthy and good and strong. Okay.
After the palm reading was over with and the recording had stopped, Neil and I had a conversation with the palm reader about those marriage lines and kind of like what she had said about there being a possibility of two relationships. And during that conversation, I had brought up to the reader that before I got with my current husband, Neil, I was actually living with someone else who was a strong emotional bond for me. Someone who, I was in a partnership with. Someone who I lived with for a time. So after revealing that information to the palm reader, she said that that actually could be the other line on my palm, because the marriage lines are not only referring to actual marriages, but they're referring to emotional partnerships and emotional bonds that we have with other people. And so basically, the palm isn't picking up on marriage certificates per se, but your palm is picking up on those partnerships that come into your life and sometimes that leave, that make a strong impression on you. One very strong line as a marriage line would represent someone who is obviously going to have a very strong partnership in their life that lasts throughout the lifetime. Now, one strong line can also mean someone who has a strong desire for that type of strong bond with another person who maybe hasn't really found it yet, but it's definitely something that they truly desire. Someone that has two lines as their marriage lines, like me, would represent a person who will have more than one very strong and significant partnership in their lifetime. Now, this could mean that one partner ends up passing away or something happens, and therefore the other remarries. But it could also mean someone who was in a significant relationship with another person, but then realized they just weren't as happy as they know they could be. So they decide to cut it off and go on with someone else. Someone who has multiple fine lines in the area between the finger and the heart line, then that would represent a person who really enjoys their freedom. So this is someone who really doesn't want to be in a strong, committed relationship because they only really want to experience their own individuality. But this could also represent a person who is simply still very young and not ready for that type of committed relationship. Now, if a committed relationship comes up later in life, then those fine lines fade away and you will begin to notice an actual marriage line representing any significant relationship you may have gotten yourself into. If you have a downward curve on your marriage line, so that means if the marriage line is coming along and then curves downward as it comes in, then that would represent someone who has a significant partnership where their partner is very domineering over them, maybe even controlling. And eventually, someone with a downward curve might possibly end up leaving the relationship because of the way that it makes them feel. If you have a marriage line with an upward facing curve, so a line that comes in and curves upward into the palm, then that would represent someone who is very committed in their relationship, but the partner may have their mind on other things. Other things such as, maybe they're in a band or they work a lot or travel for work, or maybe they're on a recreational sports league or something along those lines where their attention isn't as fully into the relationship as yours. So that is someone who has the upward facing curve as a marriage line. A marriage line that ends in a sudden fork would represent a relationship that came to like a sudden end, where someone just got fed up and then that was it, they ended it. Now, if the fork at the end has a longer fork, then that represents an end that came, but it could have ended quite a while before the true ending took place. If you have an island on your marriage line, that could represent a time where your partner has an illness or some type of difficult situation in life. Now, if the line continues after the island, then that means that whatever this difficult situation or illness is, they will recover from, or the situation will get better. My palm reader actually says that the line closest to the heart line represents the first significant relationship, and the line after that will represent the next relationship, and so on. So you can kind of tell the timing that each of these lines take place. You know, in my case, the first one is shorter than the second one, and the second one is very deep, and that's the one you can probably see the most in the video. And so it just depends on how your lines look, the shape of the lines, and if there's any curves or islands or forks. So all marriage lines are different, and it kind of has to be interpreted based on how you love as well. And your heart line can tell you a lot about how you love. So be sure to check out my video all about the heart line if you want to know more about your style of loving. Well, that about wraps it up for this video. So if you like this video, be sure to click that like button and share this video with all your friends out there. And of course, if you're a viewer but not yet a subscriber, I would love for you to click subscribe down below, and then you can be notified each and every time I upload a new video. Thank you guys so much for being here and spending some time with me. I love you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.